Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio, your station for empowerment, music, and talk radio. EB Radio presents Empower Hour with Jaresha. A show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The Empower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Ever wonder if you're heading in the right direction? Asking for guidance isn't something to be afraid of. At Empower on Purpose, we specialize in giving expert advice, support, mentorship, training, and coaching. We're success and leadership coaches trained to help with life's biggest choices. Our self-reflection sessions will empower you for success in all areas of your life so you can sleep better at night. Our strategies will help you focus and be more intentional with your success. Our coaching and training will help you become a better version of yourself to be, do, and have all the things you want in your life. Empower on Purpose, because we recognize the power and greatness within you and empower you to be intentional and be empowered to live each day with purpose. Visit www.empoweronpurpose.com.
Good evening, amazing people, and welcome to Empower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore-Smith, and it's another amazing Wednesday. You guys know we love Wednesdays around here, and if this is your first time tuning into the show, I am so happy that you are tuning into the show this evening. I want you to know that I believe that you have the power to be great, have great, and do great. You just have to be willing to unleash your greatness and take action. So on this show, I speak with leaders, motivators, and influencers who want to come on the show and share their stories and journeys to empower the world for growth and success. But before we get started and I bring my guests in, I just want to take time to thank every last one of you for continuing to listen and your continued support, for tuning in each and every week at the same time and the same place. So, every single week we take a look at an empowerment quote. We love empowerment quotes here. And so that what we do is take a look at that empowerment quote that we are pondering and how it is going to help us, how it's going to empower us for growth and success. And so this week we have another quote that we're pondering, and it just so happens that the quote tonight is actually by an amazing coach and mentor, Brandon Bouchard, that simply says, beginning today, set an intention and a relentless focus on living your life as the greatest person you can be in all situations. Now, this is pretty amazing. Now, if you tuned in each and every week, I'm always saying that all of these quotes are amazing, but they're truly amazing. It's so amazing, and it empowers us to be intentional about connecting with our highest and most greatest self. And we have to be honest with ourselves. So for me, every day is a day for me to show up with intention and focus on living my greatest, living in my greatest and living my greatest, being my best self. But I will tell you, it took time for me to get to this point because I literally had to go through what I like to refer to as that discovery phase of my life, where I was trying to discover who I was and where I wanted to go. So that meant I wasn't showing up as my highest and best and greatest self because there was so much uncertainty with all of the areas of my life. But I will say that once I discovered, and once you discover who you are and whose you are, and what you already have within you, let me just say, you better watch out. The world better watch out. I was like, wait a minute. The world is not going to be able to tell me anything. You walk differently, you talk differently, and you think and do things as your highest and greatest self. So what does that mean? That means the things that used to bother you and the things that you used to give energy to that you didn't need to give energy to, you stop doing those things. And you give energy to the things that's going to help you, that's going to empower you because of the fact that you're wanting to be intentional and focus on living your life as the greatest person you can be. And let me just say something real quick, because I didn't say this before about Brendan Burchard. He is truly, truly amazing, and it's been such a privilege and an honor to be able to learn from him. And one of his coaching programs that is through Growth Day. And if you don't know what Growth Day is, you need to Google it and check it out because it's pretty amazing. So without further ado, let's get into my absolutely amazing guest this evening. She is here this evening ready to inspire, motivate, and empower all of us for growth and success. I am so happy to welcome Dayna Lovelady to the show this evening. Hey, Dayna, how are you this evening?
Good evening, Jaresha. I am doing well. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your wonderful show that empowers people throughout the world.
Thank you. So I have your bio here, and let me just say it is pretty amazing, truly, truly amazing. But I would love it if you would tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Of course, yes. Well, like you said, my name is Dayna Lovelady, and one of the things that I love to just say about myself just when I introduce to people is that I'm a daughter of God, simply saved by grace, and I've committed my life to doing the work of God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, and that takes place in multiple capacities, but that really sums it up, if that makes sense. So I am a minister, a writer, an intercessor, a businesswoman, and a lot of people call me a technologist because I love the digital space, and I work full and I've been there for just about 15 years, and my role is a digital communication specialist. And with that, it's given me the opportunity on the business side to be able to speak at corporate conferences and talking about technology and communications with people from various companies like Delta Airlines and Walmart and Wounded Warrior Project and U.S. Mint and Coca-Cola and just so many other wonderful organizations that are doing great things. And also I'm a member of Christian Women in Media Association, and I'm the social media director for that organization and also a member of the National Religious Broadcasters. And I've done some work in government regarding homeless service appointments, so essentially just helping with the homeless and doing various things with federal dollars to help them out. And as far as school is concerned, I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally, so I graduated high school from Cass Tech and went on to Tennessee State University and earned a bachelor's in business administration and also a master's in business administration. And within the last year, as a matter of fact, I graduated with my Master of Divinity from Regent University. So I've had quite a colorful life, I like to say, but the Lord works it all together for good.
Yes, I love that. That is so awesome. And, as I'm listening, again, I mentioned I have your bio as well. And I'm like, she is wearing so many hats and doing some super amazing things. And I love the way that you put it as you've had a colorful life. I definitely love that. I love that. So, of course, when it comes down to so many different things that you're doing, and one of the things that you mentioned is, truly from being able to minister, you have not allowed any boundaries to stop you from ministering. You mentioned as far as ministering to, to businesses and schools, and you also ministered those in shelters and in jails as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about, this those experiences and how, truly just, coming from a place of ministering and being able to really make that impact in other people's lives?
Yes, of course. That's a great question. I really approach it in a couple of different ways. One, I like to look at it as every opportunity that the Lord gives me to pour into someone's life is important. So whether that's an individual person, whether that's at a conference or at a church service or in a school or in Walmart, Kroger, Sprouts, wherever your local grocery store is, wherever that is definitely an opportunity from God. And so I look at people, and I've seen a lot of similarities, really, in a lot of these different cases. Even though it may be different venues, they're still people. They're still individuals that God wants to reach. And what better way to reach them than to meet them where they are? And so I find that all of the individuals have a story, and they have current life circumstances. And in those stories that individual people have, it really talks about who they were in the past, who they are now, and who they plan on becoming in the future. And that really is the story. And some of those parts of the story are not always pretty. It's not always easy. It's not always fun. But nonetheless, there's still a story. And also the life circumstances, for our past and in our present, that is something that is not unique to any of us. We all have that, right? And so all of those individuals in those various arenas, so whether it's in the shelters or the jails or in a business or school or wherever it is, they deserve a chance to hear the gospel. Because God sent Jesus because he loved the whole world, not just the church, which, I love being in the church and ministering in the church and everything, but that I don't believe is where God wants us to stop. And so that's just one of the things for me that is not allowed any boundaries that people may try to put on me or that sometimes I may try to put on myself. It helps me to think outside of those boxes that sometimes people try to put us in or we ourselves get, right? So, it's definitely been a blessing and a privilege.
Absolutely. I think that is, it's truly, truly amazing. And you're probably going to hear me say the amazing word just throughout this evening because of the fact that, just being able to, as you share, ministering to others and recognizing that everyone has that story. Everyone has a story. And not everyone is willing to listen, to hear that story. Not everyone is willing to really empower someone and encourage and inspire someone to share that story. One of the things I would love to hear you speak about more is the fact that we know that, and I'm sure you mentioned some of the people that you have encountered, whether in the store or, in the jails and homeless and shelters and all of that. But for those people that feel that they have reached their lowest of lows, where would you tell them? Like, what advice, what would you tell them as far as where they should start with their journey?
That's an excellent question, and I think it's so appropriate for the time we're in too, right? And that could be any time, of our lives individually, but especially because of the circumstances that the pandemic has produced and so many other things that are going on or have happened with civil unrest and wars and rumors of wars and, just so many of those things that are happening. one of the things that I would tell people who feel like they're at their lowest of lows right now is that you can go up from here. You can go up from here. And reaching up to God, both literally and metaphorically, is the best place to start. And I encourage us all, no matter where we find ourselves right now. We may not feel like in some areas we're at the lowest of lows, but in other areas we may feel like that we can reach up to God, that He has a rope for us, so to speak. And I don't mean that necessarily literally, but He can give us that rope that we can pull up out of that low place. And also to seek inspiration from those who have risen from low points. I know from my own life that has been something that has been monumental, because I've had those low points. I've had times. I've had where I felt like, can it get any better? Is anything good going to happen? I know what it's like to be in that place of feeling broken. And I also know what it's like to see someone else and say, you know what? They were able to make it out. Maybe I can make it out. You know, and I know even for your own life, Jaresha, you've been through some things, right? And in those moments of going through things, there were things that you had to pull yourself out of, and you may have done that through various means. And look at you now. You're an inspiration to others. So I encourage people even to look to you for inspiration, to listen to your show, to follow you on social media, to get that inspiration so that they can continue to rise up out of that low place.
Yes, that's so good. That really is, and I definitely thank you, because it's so true. You know, as you shared, so many of us, you know, and I shouldn't say so many, because all of us experience at some point in our life, we have those moments where we probably look at it as this was a low point, you know, and frankly, because of the fact of, you know, the pandemic and everything else, there are still a lot of people that's in that point, that's at that point in their life, still trying to come out and still trying to pull through. And so it is so important, as you share, just to kind of piggyback on what you mentioned, for other people, you know, for the people that are listening, if you don't have someone in your corner, someone that, you know, that you're surrounded by, find someone that can inspire, that can encourage you, that can motivate you, because when you're at that point, you need to have that inspiration. You need to be able to know that, you know what, I can turn to God, and you know, I can turn to my sister in Christ, my, you know, brother in Christ. I can turn to, you know, someone that can help me pull through that thing. And so that's so important. And yes, as you shared, I was at a point in my life where I experienced that, and I had someone that was there for me. I also, you know, turned to God. I'm very spiritual as well. And you keep turning to God as well. So I would love, because I know that you are inspiring others as well, tell us what makes you feel inspired, or what makes you feel like you're being your best self.
Oh, that's such a great question. One, I think reflecting on how far I have come, and then also how much more I want to accomplish, helps me to be inspired and to be my best self. Because I think about the fact that there was a time when I didn't know where I was going to live. You know, there was a time that I didn't always know how I was going to eat. There was a time that I didn't know how I was going to finish college because of the expenses. There was a time that I had addictions and things that I struggled with. But I see now where God has brought me. And it's by His grace that I've been able to overcome those things, and, you know, through resources and people supporting me and so many different things that has helped me to overcome many of those things, and not only be in a place that I have housing, but I'm helping others to get housing, you know. And so when I look at that and see how far I've come, that really helps me to feel inspired, even on those hard days, you know, even on those days where it's like, oh, I don't know about myself today. And that helps me to feel like my best self, to say, no, you've overcome things in the past. You'll overcome where you are now. And also just spending time in worship and hearing from God really helps me to be inspired. And also seeing the state of the world. That is something that really inspires me and really calls me to be my best self. And when I say the state of the world, I mean the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when I see that there are people that are dying, from overdose and just so many different things, or people who are doing great, that are really helping others in their community, that are strong business leaders, that are entrepreneurs, all of these different things, they truly inspire me. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, it inspires me to be my best self and to continue to reach out and help others.
Absolutely. That's good. That's so good. When you were talking about reflecting, it made me think about, how, we don't realize, of course, the struggle is real. And we say that so much. The struggle is real, but so is the victory. The victory is so real as well. So I love reflecting, and I love the fact that you actually mentioned that reflecting part as well. I would love for you to share more about, we talked a little bit about, some of the things that you're doing and some of the amazing things you're doing in the community. So for those that are listening that, that really want to get more involved in, helping the communities and being a part of how they can truly help encourage and inspire and, motivate those within the community, what would you, offer as encouragement for those that are wanting to help those in the need in the communities?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And we have so much need right now. So I think it's really appropriate. The first thing I would say is be very clear in the definition of the need. Define what the need is. And even if that's, taking a pen to paper, hopping on the computer and typing it out, whatever it is, being clear on what that need is, because so many times if we're not clearly defining the need, we're not clearly meeting it either. So that's the first thing I would recommend. And also partnering with those who are already seeking to fulfill that same need, and that really can create a sense of momentum, right? I used to work with Dave Ramsey, and one of the programs that I worked with within the company was Momentum. And so it talked about gaining that momentum as you are coming together with various things. And so I really like to illuminate that. And sometimes it's not possible. The reality is we can't always partner with everyone. And sometimes there is no one else trying to meet the need. So there is no one to partner with within our various communities. So if there is no one to partner with, I just encourage finding practical steps to actually meet those needs, whatever that is. And, you will know for your own situation within your community what that may be. And then also pacing yourself in order to avoid burnout. Pace. Because if you are anything like me, you see a need and you are ready to meet it, fill it, and get that box checked off, that person or people group or whatever, has what they need to go forward. And you want to do it like yesterday. You don't want to your plan of having X, Y, and Z happen, again, whatever that is. But I have learned the importance of pacing yourself, especially when you're trying to help those who are in need, because a lot of times when we are the people that want to help, we're those leaders or business owners or professionals or, homemakers or what have you that want to help people. We have that gift of help, so that heart to help, we can burn out even faster. So it's important to pace yourself and make sure that you are taking care of yourself even as you're trying to help others.
Yeah, that's good. That is so important. I think that, as you mentioned, when we are out here helping and, encouraging, empowering, and, really supporting others, we often forget to, work on self. We often forget that we have to make sure we take care of self, too. So that self-care is so very important. And especially when you think about having that burnout And I know I've been there. I'm sure so many others that are listening can say that they have experienced that burnout too. And I think that also goes back to this being intentional about, the things that we're going to focus on. In order for you to be your best self, in order for you to help someone else, and really encourage them and empower them to be their best self, you have to make sure you're being your best self as well. So that's really, really great advice. So one of the things that I love to Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I love to ask on this show is, of course, we know that in life we have those wins, those successes, but we also have those moments when we learn. We have those life lessons that teach us things. And I would love it if you could share with us maybe something that, something important that you felt like you've learned through your journey and, over the course of your life that you would share with everyone.
Yes, definitely. It's been, so many things, but I would say one thing that really pops into my mind is a situation that I faced where I applied for an internship. And I made it up to the final round of selections, and I was just so excited. And I ended up not being chosen for that particular internship. And really through that process, one of the lessons that I learned was about the importance of trusting God in the process. Mm-hmm. And in that process, He had a different direction for me, and the importance of not trying to force feed, if you will, the journey, but holding it loosely, our own plans, and allowing God to direct us and really shape and mold us in the way He wants us to go. And also remaining humble and teachable. That has been a very, very big one that I believe that God has illuminated for me, is that no matter how many successes we have, to remain humble and be teachable, so that when we don't have those moments that are really what we feel like is not a win, feels like a loss or feels like a failure even. We set out to do something, go somewhere, apply for an internship, a job, start a business, a family, a marriage, whatever that is, that we have that humble, teachable spirit to learn from those situations. Sometimes, it can be things that we've done wrong, or that we could have done better, or that, there's some type of course correction that we need. It was good for one season and not good for the next season that we're in, and just learning how to course correct. So that, I think, has really been big learning points for me throughout my own journey.
Yes, that's good. That's so good. And you said so many amazing things, because at the end of the day, when we think that trusting the process thing is so real, oh my goodness, it's so real. I love the fact that, so thank you for sharing, your example that, you gave, your life experience, because I think so many of us we get stuck with that, okay, we want things to happen the way we want it to happen. And, we want things now, and not just now, but right now. And, I think that everything, there's a season for everything. And so we have to be willing to trust God, trust the process, and know that He, things that happen for a reason. We may not understand it right then. So, I will tell you that even on my own journey, that has been so real in my own life throughout the years with business and personal and everything else. And we have to trust the process. And as you mentioned, stay humble when, you do have those wins, you do have those successes and all of that, and never forget where you came from. So I thank you for sharing that, because that is so good, especially when we need to be really, having that faith that, God is working things out for us. And that's so hard to sometimes, so that's really, 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 really good. I thank you for, sharing that with everyone. So I would love for, we have talked about some of the many hats that, you wear. I would love to just know more about, some of the interesting, work that you're doing at the Christian Broadcasting Network. And I know you mentioned the digital, the digital communication, being the digital communication specialist and all of that. Tell us a little bit more about that, that tech side of Dayna and some of those things, and how you truly, was it something that you just always wanted to, go into, or, tell us a little bit more about that journey and just share a little bit more about your journey with the Christian Broadcasting Network and all of that.
Yes, of course. I started out at Christian Broadcasting Network, almost 15 years ago. And when I started out, I was in the prayer. I was a prayer counselor on the phone lines, and took tens of thousands of calls and led many people to Jesus Christ. And it honestly was a job that I couldn't even believe I had. Initially, I'm just like, wow, I'm getting paid to pray for people. Like, this is amazing. And it truly was a blessing. But one of the things that it really taught me, even during that process and what the Lord was putting on my heart, was there was more that he had for me and that he was preparing me for. So even in the midst of that, I did get directly from Dave Ramsey, actually. He offered for me to work with him at his company. And so that was a part of what I was doing there, was more of the kind of tech digital side, but also playing a role as far as, within the company prayer and prophecy and really being, some people would call me the company chaplain. And so I think even in that area, it was really growing. And once I was back full-time at CBN after a stint of me going overseas to Africa to do missions work, when I was there, it was like it just came naturally. And I was always the go-to person within the department for all things kind of tech. How do you do this? Or solving business problems with technology, essentially. And one of the things that I will always do is just pray and say, okay, God, how can we do the work you've called us to do more effectively, more efficiently with the things that you've allowed man to create here on earth? And so within that, I received several promotions and am in my role now with the digital communications specialist, where I'm really helping with the effort of transforming how we do ministry. So a digital transformation, essentially, and especially since the pandemic, it's really been interesting seeing how God orchestrated it all before the pandemic even hit. And so I've been leading the effort of the company working from home. So this is over 1,000 people, making sure that we can do what we need to do. So really my role has been keeping them informed, keeping them equipped, and keeping them encouraged also on a spiritual level and engaged in all of those things, because we need to make sure we're taking care of the spiritual component as well. As we are doing ministry, we reach millions of people a day within the ministry. And so many times, and I'm sure you can attest to this, when you're doing ministry work, sometimes it's easy to forget about taking care of yourself spiritually. So that's one of the other sides of things. And I'm leading the chapels for my particular department as well. So essentially somewhat like a chaplain for our department. So that really is what my focus is helping people on the spiritual side and on the tech side.
I love it. I do. I absolutely love it. I do. And, I have to go back to where you said, when you were, taking being you working and you're getting paid to, to pray for people. And it just, I'm like the millions and millions and millions of people that is being reached with this, with the ministry. It's truly amazing. And I just I was trying to say amazing and a blessing. Trying to mix it all together. So it's truly a blessing and amazing. It really is. It really, really is. And I am a firm believer that, God, He prepares us for what's next, and we don't even realize that when you look back on, the years, and you're like, it makes perfect sense for where I am now. I had to go through some of those things. I had to, even though when you were in the midst of whatever it may be, whether it's a storm or, learning and just going through life on your journey, it was so necessary because it was needed to prepare you for today. So I just want to say that is truly amazing. You are definitely a huge blessing and blessing so many. It just warms my heart. It really does. And I want to say thank you because, it's something when you are able to connect with someone who is, just has the same energy and really just loves God and wants to do God's work and, is doing God's work. So it's truly amazing, and it makes me just, light up and feel really, really good. And I thank you for being such a blessing to so many and allowing God to, allow you to use the gifts that he gave you. So that is just truly amazing, and I want wanted you to know that. Absolutely, truly amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate kind words and your thankfulness, and it truly is a blessing to hear those words, and I receive every last one of them. And just like you said, even in going through the journey and the hard times, just seeing what God is allowing me to do now, I think an encouragement to us all. Because when I tell you, when we are in those low places, we don't always see being able to do things such as what you just described about me, right? And so I think there are a lot of us that may be facing such times right now, and I just pray that, my life is an encouragement for someone else, even if it's just one. So thank you. I so appreciate it. It's such just being connected with you and how you are encouraging so many people through Empower Hour. You're empowering people. So I thank you for the energy in which you're doing that with, and just the humility that you're doing that with, to be able to share with others how they can be empowered. Not everybody is doing that. It's a lot of people tearing people down. So the fact that you are empowering people is so amazing and so awesome. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It is really my pleasure and my honor. And I truly believe when you are called and it's your purpose, you have no choice but to do what you're called to do. So
you said something right there.
Yes. So good. This is so good. It really is.
It is.
So, one of the things that, in closing or before we close, I mentioned early on in the show that how we love empowerment quotes, here on the show. I would love if you can just give us a little bit as far as what the empowerment quote meant to you. And it simply said, beginning today, set an intention and a relentless focus on living your life as the greatest person you can be in all situations. Can you share a little bit with us on what that truly means to you?
Yes. First and foremost, I love this quote. And it's something that I think I am going to probably print out and blow up and put on a wall somewhere. First and foremost, the first two words captivate me. Beginning today. So what that means, and I'm a word nerd, right? What that really means to me when I just look at those two words is that today is a new start. Like you can begin today. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. And yesterday could mean, from when you were a child, from when you were a teenager, from whatever situation you just went through, even literally yesterday, that today, beginning today, you can have a change. And so that next part where it's talking about setting an intention and a relentless focus. So setting a plan and having that persistent focal point on that plan can give you what you're looking for. So living my life as the greatest person I can be. So not trying to live somebody else's life or allowing other people to dictate how I live my life and how I'm defined as a great person in all situations. So whatever situation it is, whether, that's a family situation, ministry situation, work situation, business situation, real estate situation, financial situation, whatever that situation is, I can be my greatest self starting today because I'm setting a plan. I'm setting a persistent focal point to be the best and greatest person that I can be. So that's what that quote means to me. I was like, ooh, I like that when I read it.
Yes, and I love what you shared as far as your what you feel like that means to you. Truly amazing. I love the breakdown of the words. Oh, simply amazing. I was over like, yes, absolutely. Yes, I love it. So it's been such an amazing evening. And, I just want to thank you for being on the show. In closing, if you could share one piece of advice with the world on how they can empower their own growth and success journey, what would that be?
Wow. Good. So much. Try to narrow it down. Really that God calls us to growth and success. That it's not something that's just for elitists or people who are in a certain category. That He's called us all to that same measure of growth and success in our own lives, whatever that looks like for us, so that we don't have to be intimidated by anyone else or anyone else's journey, and that when we are focusing on that so many times can keep us away from the wrong things, right? And falling down the wrong path. And when even just hearing that word growth, true growth comes from pruning so many times. It comes from a pruning process. So I think about the scripture in John 15, and I think especially verses 1 through 2, where it talks about every branch that beareth not fruit, He takes that branch away. But every branch that beareth fruit, He purges it so that it can bring forth more fruit. So I believe in our growth and success journey, sometimes we have to cut some things out. Sometimes we have to cut some people out. Sometimes we have to cut out some limiting mindsets and beliefs and empower ourselves so that we can walk in that growth and success, and making sure that we're measuring that growth and success by standards that are not standards that other people are putting on us, but really having that relationship with God so that we can have a true measurement of what growth and success is. So I just encourage people, step out, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to step outside of the box, and don't allow yourself to be boxed in to limiting mindsets or limiting people or situations that say that you have to be in a certain place or do a certain thing. Just do all that God is calling you to do.
Yes, absolutely. That was so good. Thank you. So, Dayna, if you could share with everyone on how they could stay connected with you and support your efforts.
You can visit my website, which is lovelady.com, and Dayna is spelled with a Y, Dayna, lovelady.com. And also I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Dayna Lovelady. And again, Dayna is spelled with a Y, Dayna. So I would definitely love for everyone to connect with me and certainly support, and I try to be encouraging as well on my platform. So I'd love for you to reach out.
Absolutely. Well, you have definitely inspired, encouraged, and empowered us this evening. Thank you so much. My goodness. Truly amazing. You're so welcome. Truly amazing. So I thank you all for tuning in to the Empower Hour with Jaresha show this evening. If you are interested in starting your own show or being a guest on the show to share your amazing story and journey to equip, encourage, and empower others for growth and success, please visit www.envisionedbroadcasting.com to learn more. Please tune in next Wednesday at 8 p.m. where you will hear another amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journey in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit www.empoweronpurpose.com. Remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.